Hey y'all, it's Melissa here at Twin Oaks Family Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. Want to get you up to date on the flock of meat birds that we're raising currently in production. This is May 20th, 2024. We have 124 Cornish rock cross meat chickens that are 29 days old, and we're nearly to the end of production. This is our second flock for 2024. We have about 6 flocks planned. So this will be about 225 birds that we've raised this calendar year. Total this year, we're planning on about 1,650, and it's a lot to take on. So we're going a flock at a time. We have the plan for the year, and the perspective around here is plan your work and work the plan. Stick to it, but adjust as needed if you got to troubleshoot it. But we are just in the second flock, so we want to get right to taking a look at them. So 29 days old. So just 4 weeks and a day, right? Going to the processor, USDA inspected processor on day 37. So when we take these birds to a poultry processor to have them finished into a custom order of cuts of poultry, they will be 5 weeks 2 days old. So just update here what we've got going on in the meat bird barn. I've just put in some feed for them. Our outdoor temperatures are definitely in the mid 70s, and supposed to get really warm today. We'll probably feel close to 90. So it's going to get hotter. So it's just now about 11:30, coming on noon, and we went ahead and put 50 pounds of feed into the feeders this morning. They are right on track. We kind of have a feed schedule. We have basically a number of pounds per flock that as I'm talking, this one is cracking me up because it's turning its head and looking at me. As we have a flock in production, in our minds, we have a total number of pounds based on the number of birds in that flock of how much feed is going to be fed out to that group in about 5 weeks' time. 5 weeks is the schedule we're using this year for production, start to finish. So we know how much feed we want them to eat. So we can see if we're right on target with the amount of feed we plan on them eating, ending on the last day that we put feed in. And, there's times you can see if you feel a flock is a little bit behind, they're not consuming enough feed, or if you feel a flock is a little bit ahead of your schedule, maybe they're consuming the feed faster than other flocks. And it kind of is like, well, why would that be? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it does when we kind of stop and think about the ambient conditions around them can vary from one flock to another in a system like ours, where they are inside, and so they're protected, of course, from predators, but protected from a lot of the elements. But still, the temperature inside our building is very dependent on the ambient temperature outdoors. We also have to work through the day with where the sun is coming into the building, and we're wanting to maximize airflow. So anytime that the weather is conducive to having our big doorways open, we're going to want to have them open. But if having them open is letting so much sun in that it's heating the birds up too much, then we have to take that into consideration. So in a flock that happens to just have the luck to get good weather during their production schedule, if the ambient temperature is just like nearly perfect for them from almost start to finish throughout, then that flock is possibly going to be maybe eating more, be ahead on schedule of how much food they're consuming. Because when conditions are good, meat birds remember their appetite. They remember they're hungry. But they kind of prioritize comfort, mainly with ambient temperature, over everything else. So if meat birds are too cold and the food isn't where the warmth is, they're going to stay where the warmth is and might forego the food. If temperatures are too hot, they basically are just not going to be wanting to be active. So, so that always impacts the flocks. But with this flock, we are right on schedule. We want this flock to consume 1,000 pounds of feed over the 5 weeks, 2 days, and we actually have about 300 pounds of feed left. So we've distributed 700 pounds of feed, and at this point, they're eating 50 pounds of feed in about 24 hours. So we have it timed and planned out, and we can see that it's working, that they'll be able to have 50 pounds put in their feeders daily until day 36. And on day 36, we wouldn't be putting any new feed in because they're going to the processor on day 37. So we would be starting total feed withdrawal on day 36. So one of the seems quirky things that we watch and observe and monitor in a flock is manure quality. And so actually, like, there's some manure there. So one of them has stepped on it as it went through, but we would say that's good manure quality in this flock. Now, with the feed, the other thing I wanted to mention, so we've put in feed, and right before I recorded, I walked around the entire pen and asked all the birds to get up and move around. And so we do that mainly to evaluate how are these birds doing. Are their legs holding their weight, and are they feeling strong enough with their heart function to be able to move? And so we want to basically just see that any birds that are laying around, which as you can see here is basically all of them. Any birds that are laying around, we want to see them move around. So I've already done that. I've already walked through the pen and exercised the broilers gently and evaluated that all the birds, all 124 of them, are able to use their legs and walk and have a normal gait and are not limping. We don't have any leg injuries. The legs are strong, so they're doing really well on that, okay? So the other reason, though, we did that now at this juncture is because it is going to heat up during the day. So this is what I'm wanting to get to. One thing I wanted to tell y'all about feed. If you're raising Cornish rock cross meat chickens, if it's really, really hot, like above 80, say, and especially once you've got birds like out to this point, like 4 weeks old. When it's really hot, let's say above 80, you really don't want to go put feed in and encourage them to eat at the hottest part of the day. You would want to let the heat subside, and then at your coolest parts of your day, maybe morning and evening, if you have a couple of cool parts of your day, then go put your feed in and exercise your broilers, ask them to move around the pen or their living space and try to move them around. And as they move around, they'll most likely go to feed. But try to give them encouragement to eat when it's not too hot for them. So that it's just, the metabolism of digesting that food and the body processing it just increases the heat that they're experiencing. And if it's already really, really warm, then you want to give them the opportunity to just rest during that hot period and keep them out of the sun. Make sure they do have water. Hopefully they'll be going to water even in that hot period. But as far as eating, give them the opportunity to wait till a cooler time to go eat. And that's better for them, better for their digestion, better for their internal organs, and less stress on them. And that's kind of what we've kind of figured out with raising meat birds in general. Whatever system works for you is great. But the name of the game, no matter what the system is eliminating stress as much as possible for these birds. So I want to show you another thing. So we can see here, this is a bird, and this is the first one, only one at this point on this day in this pen expressing this. But this is a bird that's starting to show us, I feel warm. I feel warmer than my comfort zone. I'm going to show you another one. So now I see the second one. Well, it's a little harder to tell with this one because of preening. But their wings, those two, their wings are held out from their bodies just a bit. And I think, well, I could see that one again before it was preening. Starting to see in just like right now, a handful of individuals, the panting. Chickens don't sweat. So when they're hot, their natural coping mechanism is to pant, okay? So that one was doing it. We're really up close to one right here. Hi. So, so other than the one time asking them to move around, seeing that they went to eat, now the rest of the day, I'm not going to be asking them to move around. Not going to encourage them to go eat. They might go eat on their own, and that's fine. We were observing them on their day 28. It was very hot, and we were very encouraged to see that even though the birds were showing their coping mechanisms for enduring heat, some panting, spreading their wings out, resting, we did see that they were taking initiative to get up and go to water. So it's critical we keep them drinking. So, when you have the really hot days, keep the water fresh. You can even add, maybe some ice blocks into your water just to moderate that temperature of that water so that it doesn't become heated too. And you don't want it ice cold that they're drinking, but so that it's appealing enough for them to go and drink it. So you can keep those things in mind, and